we go. Carlos Lucio, how you doing, my friend?
Pretty
good
good,
to see
thank
you.
you.
Owner of Trapper John's Knives, man. I'm so excited to have you here today. There's a business for everything, like they say, and I'm just very, very intrigued about what you do, man, and how you kind of got started, and kind of want to learn more about your background. And I know. Tell me about that. I mean, what Carlos Lucio? Who is he? Give me a little background history here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, right now I'm the owner of Trapper John's Knives.
Mm-hmm.
My name is not John, but that's a very interesting
Put that a little
story
closer.
on how I acquired the name.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid, I mean, all I wanted to do was architecture. That's what I did for.
That's what you are by trade.
Yeah. I studied architecture here in San Antonio. I studied interior design. I ended up getting degrees in both. And then I got this passion while I was studying architecture. Computers were kind of new. I mean, not new, they were old, but 3D was kind of new in architecture.
Mm-hmm.
It was evolving, and I had to take a class, and I just fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started to do more visualization. So I started doing more of the 3D modeling for architecture. I worked in multiple companies, Houston, Austin. I mean, I even went to Los Angeles. I mean, during the recession, I ended up in Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't find work in architecture when I graduated.
Are you from San Antonio or from where?
Laredo, Texas.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up in a couple of TV shows as an extra.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't. When you were in LA?
And I was in LA.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was looking for architecture work, and things just happened. I was invited to one of my buddies called me and said, "Hey, do you want to do a catering job?" I needed money. And I'm like, sure. I didn't know where I was going to end up at.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up going to Arnold Schwarzenegger's house for a catering job.
Really?
Hung out with him the whole night.
For real?
The nicest celebrity I've ever met.
Awesome.
So then I ended up in TV shows as a background. Okay. I'm in traffic jams. I'm driving around. It's
traffic jams. You're like in a car in the background?
They made me drive around in a sweater because it was supposed to be in October in New York, but it was Los Angeles in the summer. With a sweater and a scarf, driving around the block for 2 hours.
Oh, my gosh.
So I did that, and then I came back. I started working for architecture firm here in town, and I was their director of 3D and visualization for almost 11 years.
Was this? Oh, okay. Yeah, 11 years.
Recently. And that's what I've been doing for most of my life, just architecture. I mean, I had that little break, but I just couldn't find work. It was just a really slow time for me in architecture. It was the recession. It was in 2008, around that time, 2009.
Yeah.
So I needed that big hit because it made me realize and appreciate what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I had a great job in Houston, and I took it for granted. And that humbled me a little bit, made me more aware financially. I know how I struggled because I felt like I wasn't prepared at the time. Mm-hmm. And I think, it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things that you just can't explain why things happen. When people say things happen for a reason, they do happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. I lost my job and I was upset at my faith and everything, but I realized, this is the best thing that could have happened to me, losing my job. When was that? In 2009, when I lost my job
during that time
during the recession. Yeah. Because I realized at the time that I wasn't prepared financially. Mm. I got out of school. I was in debt because I ended up getting 3 degrees. Mm. So I was in debt from school, student loans. And, you get out of school and you feel like I'm finally made it on your first job, making $30,000 a year. You think you made it. It was a mentality.
Sure.
And I needed to take a hit and lose my job to realize hey, this is not how you're supposed to live. Mm-hmm. So going through that process, made me become a little bit more ambitious when it came to work, when it came to just, career goals. Mm-hmm. So I started pushing and pushing. I would only apply to the top architectural firms. And I said, well, I have nothing to lose but to apply for the best jobs. Yep. And that's what I did for several years. And then I ended up at this last firm here in town. It's one of the largest firms here in town. And I stayed there for 11 years. But after 11 years, I don't know. I knew there was something more. Yeah. You're stuck with a salary. You're stuck with making the same amount of money every year. And I just wasn't feeling that's what I wanted out of life.
Right.
I was like, how can my friends afford that? I want to have more vacations. I want to have more freedom. but you kind of feel stuck, even though you love your job, you love your coworkers,
yeah.
and so that's where I was. I felt stuck. I thought at the moment, what am I going to do now if I'm working for one of the top architecture firms? I have my dream job. I'm doing the projects that I want to do. I got a job teaching at Incarnate Word University, and I love my job. I loved everything about what I was doing.
Mm.
I thought, this is what been wanting to do. This is what I've been fighting for
all
my
your
whole
life, everything you've been dreaming of since you were a kid.
And it has nothing to do with life so far. I mean, all my life, nothing with knives. And 4 years ago when I met Sarah, my current fiancée, we went to visit her dad in Arizona. And I just mentioned to her, like, I want a pocket knife. I always loved knives since I was a kid, but I never knew a lot about them. I just knew that they were a tool. There was something special because my dad gave me one. And I remember him telling me in the early 90s, like, I spent a lot of money on this knife, $32 for a Gerber knife. And he said, you better take care of it. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, $32 for a knife at the time. And I always carried it. I still have it in my truck. Yeah. That knife he gave me in 1994.
There's something about that, man. Yeah. Like when you, it's something that's handed down to you, especially when you're young. You look at it, as something that it's a possession that's passed down. Because I actually have a belt buckle from my grandfather.
Yeah,
when he passed away, but I still have it. But there's meaning behind it.
There's meaning, yeah.
And I think that's what's more valuable than the dollars.
Yeah, exactly. And the value for me in that knife, it was my dad. He gave it at a time when he was making minimum wage. So I know him spending $30 on a knife when he had a family of 5 to support, making minimum wage. Minimum wage back then was $5 an hour. So that made it special. Like, he actually fought to get that knife.
Yeah.
Or struggled to get that knife.
And saved money. Yeah. He sacrificed.
A sacrifice, exactly. So it was special to me. And I still carry it with me every day. It's in my car. It still gets me out of trouble every time. I mean, it has multiple tools in it. So that's one of my favorite knives of all of them that I own now. So anyway, back to 4 years ago, me and Sarah went to Arizona to visit her dad. I was going to meet him for the first time. And Sarah told George, her dad, like, hey, Carlos is interested in knives. He got excited. He started taking out his whole collection from the safe. Like, it was a table this big. He filled it up. Was
that just coincidence that you just told her you were like, hey, I just have this thing I want to start looking into? And
I mean, now I'm thinking about it. It wasn't coincidence. There was something there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's, like, repeating it. It's things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a higher power in that. And I've always believed in, like, there's always something taking care of you. Because at the time, I was just interested in knives. And I loved them. I loved everything about them. I always wanted them, but I didn't understand everything. I didn't know there was so much depth. In architecture, I studied history. I studied the different architects, different buildings. I traveled the world to see those buildings in person. And I had a big passion, and I know the depth of architecture because of just, I was in it for so many years.
Sure.
And George told me, I'm going to take you to the best knife shop you're ever going to see. And This
is in Arizona?
In Arizona. This is a small town in Sierra Vista, Arizona.
Okay.
Population 45,000. So I wasn't expecting much. This is a small town. I mean, how can you
that's not big at all.
No. How can you have the best knife shop that I'm ever going to see?
Is that near, like, Phoenix or?
It's 45 minutes south of Tucson.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys are into UFC, that's where Don Fry was from.
It's from, okay.
From Sierra Vista. He worked there. He lived there. So I walk into this store in a really run-down shopping center. I walk into this store and I'm like, oh my God, I was impressed. I mean, it was just anything you can imagine. Every brand you can imagine. Every style, every decade. I mean, this was just like a museum of knives. And I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to expect. I thought at the time, $80 is enough, a lot for a knife. And when I started talking to John, hence the name Trapper John's, when I started talking to John, he just explained everything to me. He told me the history. He told me the different types of blades, the different types of metals, the different types of of handles, scales, everything. He was just explaining and educating me on a knife. I ended up spending $300 on a knife. I never spent that much money on anything for myself, but I was happy.
Yeah,
I didn't feel ripped off. I didn't feel like he upsold me or anything. It was just like he made me appreciate
the value.
What I was going to value.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, that's a great business motto. I mean, making people happy, but not feeling like you got ripped off.
Sure.
Because you go to businesses and all they want to do is they just want to sell you.
Sure.
But this one, I mean, he wasn't there to sell me. He was just there explaining, and I just took out the credit card and ended up buying 4 knives from him that day.
Wow.
So every year I would tell Sarah, like, hey, can we go visit your dad? But
you're like, let's go see your dad.
Sorry, George. I wanted to go visit John.
The knife shop.
And so last year in June, exactly 1 year ago, back in June of 2023, I would spend money. I mean, I will save money throughout the year. Mm-hmm. I would save money, cash, and go to Trapper John's and just buy 4, 5, 6 knives that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And last year he told me I showed up to his store. I bought a couple of knives, and he told me, well, if you come back in February this year, I'm going to sell everything at a discount. I'm retiring. I'm 80. My wife is 50, and I want to travel the world with her. And I was like, oh my God. I was bummed. I was like, this is my favorite knife store, and it's closing forever.
You're like, sorry, Sarah, we're not going to come back and visit your family anymore.
That was it. I was like, George, I won't be able to see you again. And so we left the store, and I was just thinking, what am I going to do? I mean, I can buy knives online, but that experience or that education just wasn't there when you go online. Mm-hmm. Talking to somebody that's passionate about the history of just knife making, I mean, I just wasn't going to find it online. So we went to a bar, sat down, and then Sarah's the one that told me. She just said, hey, you need to buy the knife shop from him. And I was like, are you serious? Like, yeah. Just ask him if he wants to sell. Was
he planning on selling?
He had a plan to sell. It would have been easier for him. And he thanked me later on that, like, hey, you gave me a big favor of just retiring easy.
Sure.
Because he had no idea what people were going to do. Right. He had no idea people were going to take advantage, or like, oh, well, you're selling, I'll give you $2 for a $300 knife. Right. He probably would have done it because he just wanted to get out.
Want to get out.
Especially just getting older. So I went back to him. I said, John, would you sell the store at a price? And he said, sure. And I was like, I'll buy from you. And I shook his hand. That was it. I had no idea what I was going to do. The moment I said it, panic.
You're like, and I this is sleep.
I was like, oh my God, I'm actually doing this, but I don't know anything about knives. I only know architecture. I know the process. I know the day-to-day, going to an office at 8 a.m, clocking out at 5:30. I mean, that's what I was comfortable with.
Now you're stepping into a whole nother world.
Business owning. I mean, this was very scary. Mm-hmm. And the process to get a loan, just to get an SBA loan, to just get the business.
Sure.
I mean, that's something that I realized during the process. This is why there's not a lot of business owners. Well, there is a lot, but it's discouraging sometimes. It's discouraging.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I mean, I can see. I mean, I was willing to give up a couple of times, and I was like, man, this is where a lot of people do stop,
right,
and don't proceed to own a business because it's very scary. There's a lot of lawyers involved. There's a lot of money that needs to be spent to eventually make money.
There's a lot of risk, and there's people that are willing to take it, some people that are willing to help, some people that aren't. So
some people are just like, you know what, I would rather just stay and just make money and not risk it.
Yeah.
So that was a big lesson for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only are you going into the entrepreneur world, but you're actually going into the knife world now, right?
Yeah.
So that's like something you're just jumping head into.
Yep.
You know, you're kind of getting your feet wet with all the different, history and the knives and all that. But did you have like this fear of like, okay, well now I got to be as articulate as John was, or as knowledgeable as John was with all the differences that, the knives and the histories and all that. How did you tackle that?
I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I've always done this. But I realized, I mean, John, a little history about John and why he got where he was. He started the shop in 1985 in New Hampshire. He just had a passion he was a chef. He told me, I think he catered for John F. Kennedy back in the day. He was a veteran. I think he served in Vietnam, I believe. So he was just, I asked him, like, why'd you open up a knife shop out of your house? He said, because I love them. I've always loved knives. That's all I can think of, just knives. So for him, for having that knowledge when I met him, it was 40 years of working with knives every day, meeting the knife makers, traveling, reading the books every day. When things are slow, he would read a book on knife making or knife makers or the history of knives. So it was just accumulated over decades.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I can't put that much pressure on myself. I'm going to learn as much as I can, but I'm going to keep learning every day as I own the business. So every day I make myself learn something new about knives.
That's good.
Either a maker or something I have at the shop. And once I got the shop, I realized, just how much history was in it, how many older collectible knives. And he just acquired historical knives. Just different knife makers that, have passed away. And he knew the story of every single one. It was crazy the brain this guy has still at 80. When he would look at a knife and he would tell me, like, oh, I bought that in 1985 and I bought it for $238. Like, how do you remember how much you paid for a specific knife and you have thousands of them? He just knew. He knew every single knife in his store.
But it's no different than you being able to look at a building and telling someone, who the architect is, what kind of style it is.
Yeah.
Because he's had that experience. It takes time to kind of build that up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of probably the encouraging thing for you, because you're just stepping into this world and there's still a lot to learn.
So much.
And I think that's the exciting, even in my industry, in any industry, I always tell people, it's like, you always want to be willing to keep learning and learning and learning. Because when you think you kind of know it all, sometimes it's like, just naturally, the markets are going to advance past you. Technology, there's so much, it's always changing and changing, no matter what industry you're in. That if you're, a specialist in what you do, the more you know, the better, basically value you present to your customer, especially if you know all the histories and different styles and, knives that are out there. What's one of the oldest ones that he had?
Oh, man, I think it's called the French Spontoon smoking axe. So it has a whole week. Soldiers, I think this is from the French Revolution.
What?
It's one of the oldest ones from 1700s.
Wow.
It's a beautiful axe. It's rusted because it's old, but it has the hole, and soldiers used to use their axes to smoke.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a beautiful...
and is that one that you're trying, like, do you have for sale?
Yeah, it's for sale at the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think that's one. Well, see, the thing is, like, in this world, and even, like, to your point, like, I was given some knives when I was young. I've given my sons knives. If I look around my house, I probably have 10 different, mostly like pocket knives, utility knives, whatnot. But there's some collectibles there, right?
Yeah.
There's knives that you got to find that right customer that is looking for something like that.
Yeah. And that's something I was struggling last week for. I've only been open for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, man. You just basically started fresh.
So there's always that fear, like, what if I don't make enough for the payments? What if I don't have enough for the rent?
Dude, that's
it's scary.
It is scary. We all start that way.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to, like, take a lot of tequila, Tums,
have a stock
whatever helps with your stomach. But the thing that I'll tell you is, like, if you have a passion for it, man, just stick with it. And you're gonna go through the lows and the ups and downs.
Yeah. And I was thinking, because I have so many gems at the store, and all the knives that I have are not just beautiful collectibles. I have $30 knives. I have $10 knives.
Sure.
There's something for every budget.
Yeah, you have an awesome store, man. I saw it, and you have everything, like you said, just from the traditional utility knives to all the the Borka knives, like we were talking about earlier, high-end stuff that I like.
Yeah, so there's all these variety, but like last week, for example, I did get that panic. I was like, oh my God, am I going to make it? It's natural to be afraid, because that's when something kicks in you and you just start, like, hustling more. Mm-hmm. And I was ready to start selling some knives online, but I just thought,
I was going to ask you that. Is that
I'm
something
going to eventually. But a lot of the collectible ones, I'm not going to say that I came up with this. Sarah's the one that tells me, hey, you're in it for the long run, so just hold on.
Sarah sounds like a good one to kind of keep it.
So she tells me like, hey, just be patient.
Sure.
You just can't expect all this
for sure, man.
Success immediately. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking for it. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping to get there. But right now it's like, okay, if I start selling a lot of this collection to people that will buy money online, when people come into the store, a lot of that special goes away. I don't want to have the store just have anything you can buy online. It needs to have that stock of just collectibles that people come in and just spend. I mean, I have
a sense of exclusivity too. Where there's a meaning behind that trip to go down there and then hear the story and actually buy it, as opposed to just I mean, maybe the more utility knives you can do that with. But
there's a lot I can sell because I can just replenish those. But there are some that are special. Like there's a new customer. I mean, he's been there every week now since I opened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his name's Jose. I just met him at the store, and he spends 2-3 hours every day. He shows up. He drives 45 minutes to the store.
Does he buy anything?
He does.
Okay.
I got a little.
Hey, look, if you're not going to buy anything, do you want to work here?
No, but he goes through every single knife, and he starts asking questions, and he just has a passion. So I was like, okay, this is why I keep those knives for customers like Jose to just have that option.
Yeah. You just got to find a bunch of Jose's to start coming by. But that's part of the process of starting your business. It's kind of getting the word out there. What are you doing right now for that, to try to market or network?
Right now it's Instagram, which has been it's been difficult with Instagram because they're censoring knives and they're treating knives as a weapon. I mean, knives can be used as a weapon, but there's also one of the oldest tools. Yeah,
that's interesting.
I mean, I sell scissors, I sell kitchen knives. I mean, they're not weapons. I mean, it's just you kill a brisket, but I mean that's about it. And so it's been hard with Instagram because they block a lot of the content, even though it's just a picture of a knife with lighting, with a backdrop. Or I get warnings from Instagram telling me we're not going to promote this ad. So I've been getting all the ads that I've been trying to pay with Instagram. They've been getting blocked or rejected because I'm promoting either violence or weapons, which is not the case.
Right.
I mean, I want to make people happy with.
You can't label it as collectibles or
just the fact that there's
a picture of a knife.
Just it's automatically Facebook and Instagram are there.
That's crazy.
So I just started getting into TikTok. I just started, so I'm waiting for the storefront sign to be installed.
Oh, you don't have the sign yet?
It hasn't even. Yeah, I mean, the company has taken 2 months to fabricate it, so that doesn't help with visibility on the street. People don't know where it's at sometimes.
Where are you located?
I'm on 16350 Blanco Road.
Okay.
There's I think Mission Oaks Shopping Center.
Mission. Okay, by Mission Trace subdivision.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. So it's between on Blanco Road between Bitters and 1604.
Yep, I know it's.
Yeah. So it's that's where the shop is located. It's Suite 129.
Are you doing any like trade shows or?
I'm going to. Right now I'm a one-man shop. Yeah. And something that's about this shop that I have is that I never actually gave up on my architecture.
Oh, okay.
So half of the shop is a knife shop and the other half is my architecture studio.
You're not working for a firm, you're doing that on your own?
I'm working for myself. I was lucky that a lot of the new customers I have are knife buyers. They came in to buy a knife for themselves, and they realized that I can do architecture. And some of them are contractors, landscape designers.
Well, tell me a little bit about that real quick. What in the architectural aspect of it, what do you specialize in there?
I specialize in visualization. So what I tell people, I joke about is like I make architects' dreams come true. Like I show the vision they have so the client can understand. Sometimes clients are not visual, and I've had that. I mean, I've experienced that my whole career, where you can explain to somebody what you're going to build for them, but they just cannot see it. I mean, sometimes people see in pictures, other people see in words. I'm a visual person, so what I do is I sit with the architect, I create a 3D model, I can make it as real as you want it to, and show the client exactly what they're going to get. Either it's a photograph, photoshopped of the new construction on their property, and they get to see it. It can be a 3D model. It can be virtual reality. Any tool possible to show the client this is what you're going to get. So I've been getting a lot of landscape designers trying to explain to their clients what they're going to build. They get to see it. They approve it. And now they're not wasting money. Like, this is not what I wanted.
Right. Residential or commercial?
Right now, it's mostly been commercial. I mean,
Gotcha.
residential, sorry.
Oh, residential, but a lot of landscape design.
A lot of landscape. And all these clients came in after I opened the shop.
Wow.
So I was...
That's a 2 for 1 there.
Exactly. Because I was going to go out there and market myself, but I just I don't have a need for it right now. I'm pretty occupied. Plus, on top of that, I'm running the business of the knife shop. Yeah. So I'm a one-man shop right now doing both. And I just started hiring an intern to one of my students from the university.
Okay.
Because I teach 3D modeling and animation for the video game program at Incarnate Word.
You still do that?
Yeah.
So on top of that, you're teaching
part-time in the evenings. Yeah.
Damn, bro, you got a lot on your plate right now.
I know. So
and then you got a wedding to plan for? That's
soon,
for you, Sarah.
Yeah.
No pressure.
We will.
That's awesome though, man. But you know what, dude? You got to do what you got to do. You know, if this is the thing that you really want and pursue, and you know, where do you envision yourself in like 5 years? Or 10 years?
It's hard because, I mean, right now, it doesn't feel like work. Like when I closed the shop on Mondays, I was like, what am I going to do at the house? Like, I want to be at the shop.
Yeah. Well, that's when you should go network.
Yeah.
That's when you should go.
Exactly. So that's what I'm going to have to
do podcasts like this.
Exactly. I mean, today's my day off, but I'm here.
Yeah.
So it just, it doesn't feel like work right now. I mean, I love what I do. I love doing both of them. One of the fears that I had for many years was my architecture going off on my own and going out to look for clients instead of focusing on the actual art or the production part.
Right.
But now with the knife shop, I mean, they're both just helping each other out.
Yeah.
And now I can do as much work as I want in architecture while I sell knives. So it's just been like the perfect combination right now for me.
Did John give you any insight as to, obviously he had it for, you said about 40 years, in regards to his success, whether it's financially or just, you know, and I mean, obviously he lived in a small town, maybe it wasn't dependent on a lot, but did you get a sense of, was it more passionate about knives or was it more about money? Or
it was never about the money.
Yeah.
Man, John was the most honest person I've ever met in my life. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, when I took over and I bought the shop from him, gave him the check, he stuck around and didn't even want to charge me to
just to help you
finish
transition
for 4 months the shop.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, John, let me give you some money. Like, no, this was my job. He never took a lunch break. He always brought lunch every day. He was never late for 40 years to his own business. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do once I leave. I know I have to retire. But he, when I sat down and talked to him, I said, I mean, how was it? He said, well, the first few years were tough. I did some commercials. He gave me the commercials on VHS.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah.
I mean, well, like YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is our modern day commercials.
That's what I'm going to be working on now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Commercials on YouTube. Because hopefully they're not as censoring as Instagram. But no, I mean, he was happy making enough for the bills because he was making people happy. And it was more of a community. Yeah. Like when I walked into the original store, I mean, there was 4 chairs for all his retiree buddies were sitting there every day. They will show up in the morning with coffee. So it was a conversation. And they will get up, buy a knife, sit down, keep on drinking coffee. 3 hours later, I'm going to take that knife too. And then people will show up and it was just a community.
Sure.
And that's what...
Is that your goal, to kind of build something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I have a sofa and chairs in the shop.
Can you smoke cigars there?
Not yet. I think I'll get in trouble with the neighbors. It's a hair salon next door.
Is it? Okay. That's awesome though. So, but that's what's interesting because, and I think a lot of people that are truly passionate about whatever they do, sometimes it isn't about the money anymore. At first, when you first start, I mean, you have to pay the bills. To your point, I mean, you have to keep the doors open. You have to, you just have to make money. I mean, but maybe it gets to the point where when you have that 10 years, 5 years, you're into it, and you got that flow of customers coming in, and people kind of hear about you because you have a niche, right? And I always think like the niches create riches is what they say. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's something I don't even know if there's any other knife shops in San Antonio, to be honest with you. There may be, but
they're inside of gun shops. So it's
okay.
Yeah, they have sections for knives.
But as elaborate as yours though, because I mean you have a big diversity of
I think the difference between my shop and the other ones is that because I've been to all of them here in town. You go there and somebody helps you. They hand you the knife that you want. That's it. It's just a transaction. What I try to do is I try to talk to the customers. I mean, I'm still small enough as a shop. I don't have this whole like Bass Pro Shop. I'm not nothing like that.
Sure.
So I'm able to do. I mean, the customer service comes from the owner.
Yeah.
I'm there every day, shaking hands.
That's important, though, man.
Talking to people and asking them what do you want. If they don't know what they want, I'll ask them how are you going to use that knife. If you have a price range, I'm like, yeah, between $30 and $80, and I just focus on that area. Okay, they want something just to cut,
sure,
or they come in and they want a gift. So I help them with that gift to make that gift special. Like I've had customers that come in, have an anniversary, and I show them different knives that are more collectible. To me, they mean more to the, I guess, the recipient of the gift. And that's what I think that's the difference right now between my shop and other shops. I mean, yeah, they're
that
great.
Experience.
Yeah. We do both carry the same brands a lot of the times, but there's all these other knives that I have that are just hard to get.
What are the brands you carry? Is it Benchmade?
Benchmade is I'm a dealer for Benchmade and for Microtech right now.
Okay.
And then we have a lot of other of the modern, the still in production knives, Spyderco case knives.
So the Borka, does that fall under the Microtech? Or
no,
that's a whole different.
Borka is its own company, but Sebastian is the owner of Borka.
Have you met him or no?
Yes, met him a couple of times. Yeah.
I was telling you, I was like, I started checking out the knives, and I really like those knives. Those are really, really nice.
They're all handmade.
Crafted, handmade.
Yeah. So he's good friends with Microtech, and with Tony Marfione is the owner of Microtech.
Gotcha.
And what he does is they collaborate. So one of Sebastian's Borka blades, the Stitch, for example, it's being produced from Microtech. So it's a collaboration. So you see both logos, Borka and Microtech on the blade. But you also have the custom knives from Borka.
Okay. Most of these are, for people that don't know, as far as the blades are made out of what, carbon steel or stainless steel?
A lot of different steels. And the thing with technology and just science is that every year there's something new that comes up. And you have all these different types of steels. And there's charts. And I'm trying to have a way of explaining that to people. Because there's just a wide range of steels that there are some steels that are great for cutting because they're so strong. So if you're dropping them or it's just a high impact scenario with a knife, you need a certain type of steel. But there's other knives that like, hey, I want to be on my boat. So you need something that has a higher corrosive resistance. Or there's something for hunters. Maybe they don't want to be sharpening their knife so often. So you need a blade that has more edge retention than others.
Sure.
So you get into this whole categories of just steels. And I'm learning. There's so much. I mean, there's a new steel right now, MagnaCut, and every knife is coming up with this material because it has a high corrosive resistance, and it's stronger than other steels. But then you have Microtech uses M390, for example. And I'm just throwing out numbers right now, or just mentioning. Sure. But yeah, there's the whole science. Well,
it gets technical, and like you said, there's science behind it because it's not just the traditional knives. If you go to Bass Pro Shop, you'll get your hunter's knives and utility knives. But I'm really fascinated. I know you brought some knives to show. And I think that's what's cool. And I think inherently, man, as men, as young men, I think this is the stuff that kind of gets us all giddy and excited. And I don't know. I'm excited just to even check these out.
Yeah, I'll just take them out and then I'll.
The problem is I got 3 boys and now they're going to want me to buy them knives. So I think you're going to get a few sales here today.
Got a little bit of everything. So, I brought a variety. Yeah. I didn't want to buy, I didn't want to bring just the expensive collectible knives. I mean, I brought, for example, and this is something, there's a story behind this knife. When I started collecting, before I bought the shop, maybe my first or second year with Sarah, we went to one of the knife shops here in town. Well, a military shop that has a knife shop inside.
Gotcha.
And I picked up this knife, and the brand is Kershaw, and I was happy that I had my first carbon fiber knife. I think she told me I'll buy the knife, and I didn't want to spend too much because it was her money, and she was giving it to me for a birthday gift.
Okay.
And the guy there was very helpful. And I paid like $80. She paid like $80 for this knife. The moment I left, I looked it up online, and the retail was $50.
Wow.
So I saw the markup almost double, and I felt cheated. I mean, yeah, you're supporting a business. They have to make.
Sure.
I mean,
were you with her when she bought it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we went.
But
there.
you weren't as aware as to the cost
I wasn't.
back then. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just getting into. So I just wanted to collect at that point. But I was like, man, I will never do that. I will never try to mark them up. So I'm trying to, with my knife shop, to keep prices at what the retail says. And if I can give a small discount, I will.
Sure.
I mean, it's just if it's something that somebody wants. So it was one of those things, but I mean, I kept it because I mean it was a gift, and it was a birthday gift, and yeah, I have more expensive knives in my collection now. But this is why something like this is special. But this is a price range that a lot of people look for, the $40 to $80 price range.
Yeah, it's just kind of
a basic,
nice little knife you can just carry around in your pocket.
So yeah, you can see a lot of tape on it. This is my Amazon box opener. Yeah, so then. I mean, some other knives that I have, for example, and we'll go to the Borka later on. Like this guy, Gavin Hawk. He has this Hawk knives, and this is the shortcut. This is a very hot piece of just titanium pocket knife. It's a box cutter.
It's like I was about to say, but it looks like it's kind of serrated, but it's not, right?
It's a pricey box cutter.
Yeah.
Yeah. The good thing about that is you can travel to Europe, toss the knife at the airport. The blade, you go anywhere in Europe or Mexico, anywhere you want to go. That's a very standard utility blade. You just pick up a blade at a hardware store.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you get to carry a knife somewhere. So, and these are hard to get because they don't have a big fabrication facility for them. Hawk also makes the deadlock. This is one of the knives that was used in John Wick 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Sold.
Is it the reason why they call it a deadlock? Because when you go to, for example, an out the front knife, a switchblade, there's a little wiggle in all of them, and you can feel that one on the blade. It's just the mechanics. But this guy, when he created this knife, tried to wiggle that. Oh
wow! Yeah.
So yeah, they call it a deadlock. Pretty solid carbon fiber with titanium. Very unique pieces because they don't have a big factory to be mass producing.
This is a Hawk also?
Yeah, that's a Hawk. So yeah, the black version was used in John Wick 4.
Nice. Do you find it? I mean, at this range, do they keep their value, the knives?
Some do.
I mean, obviously the higher end ones keep more value. But.
Yeah, it just depends on. I mean, for example, this knife. I mean, this is a $480 knife.
Okay.
But remember when they were first making them, you'll find them on eBay for $1,800.
Wow.
Because there will be drops maybe once or twice a year. This is when I was just getting into them, and I tried so hard to get one. And I was never able to get one until November when I got the email from the company saying we're going to do a drop. And I was there clicking until like, you made it. And then it took like 6 months to receive it.
Really?
Yeah. So that's why it's like, okay, there's an exclusivity. There's just like, you want it and you can't get it. So sometimes people.
I wonder if this is like the equivalent of purses for women. I mean,
I'm sure. Yeah, this is guy jewelry.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's the thing, and because I know purses are a big, market, know, and it's just. Maybe knives aren't as big, but there's definitely people.
There's a community.
For sure.
Yeah. And we'll go over some of them. Like, for example, there's another one, a Chris Reeve knife. I have one left at the store. I had 5, and they don't. When you go to their website and try to buy a knife, if you try to buy that one, it's going to take 9 years to get one.
9 years?
9 years. Between 6 and 9.
Wow. And why is that?
They have a small facility. And
that's a little discouraging.
They do them by hand. So when dealers get them, a lot of times some dealers will mark them up because like, hey, they're hard to get.
Yeah, for sure.
And like with me, I mean, I had to pay money to get this one, but I wanted it at the store. And the price I'm putting at the store is something just to break even. I just wanted to have somebody come in and say,
hey, do you carry this?
Do you have a Chris Reeve knives? And I do have one. Yeah. So people showed up, collectors, and took all of them except for this one. In my first week that I opened.
Really?
Just because I had them. So I need to find a way to get more. And then you have other, I just became a dealer for this guy, Jack Wolf. They're a newer company. They've been around for, not like Case, but they go online on drops and spoke to the guy, and he offered me 4 knives to try out at the shop. And these are in the price range of $350 for those. Titanium, still great little slip joints.
So these are all everyday pocket knives, basically.
Yeah, but you have a range. You have the $50 knife that I paid $80 for, but you have the $50 range, or you have the $200 range, which are more utilitarian. Right. It's another Microtech folder.
Mm-hmm. This is nice.
Yeah. So that one goes for like $175 for that one.
Sure.
But the price goes up according to the materials. Like if you want carbon fiber and higher, it has the new steel, for example. There's
the handles are an investment too, right?
Yes.
Depending on what
that
they're made
one's
out
carbon
of.
fiber, so the scales go up in price, and it adds value to the knife.
Is this Benchmade?
That's a Benchmade, yes. One of their new mini automatic knives.
Yeah, this is nice. Yeah, and you know what, the hunting world too. Those hunters expos, that'd probably be a good.
I'm gonna start. Yeah.
Market or go to.
Yeah, because right now, like I'm a one-man shop, so I have to be at the store every day.
Sure. Yeah.
But once I get to a point, hopefully in the next few months, I can hire somebody to be at the shop 2 or 3 days at a time. That'll give me the freedom to go out there and go to the just to take some knives and just
show.
Yeah, just to tell people. The awareness of there's a knife shop in town.
Yeah,
that's.
Yeah, I think there's definitely opportunities to get your brand out there and your name out there. Even if you just go to there's one cigar and whiskey networking deal. It's like once a month. Mm-hmm. Just go hang around. Basically, guys that smoke cigars and whiskey, you'll definitely get some good clients there. And I'll take you. We can go out there and check it out.
I would love to.
I don't know if you want to take all your knives with you that night, but at least you can get your name out.
I'll take one or two.
So show me the Borka one. Is that this one here? Dude, I'm telling you, bro. I went into this rabbit hole on the website, and I was looking at shirts. Do you have some on Instagram that I saw?
That one's on my Instagram page.
This is really pretty. Look at this.
Yeah.
But when I went to the website, was it Sebastian Brenji?
Yeah,
because he's like from Yugoslavia or something.
But he lives in Houston.
Yeah, he's based out of Houston now, and he's got a pretty good story, man. Became a U.S. citizen, and
I spoke to him. I invited him to the shop. He's going to try to make it to the shop eventually. That's one thing I want to do with the store. I want to bring in some of the knife makers to the store.
Yeah,
I brought in a few. Some well-known knife makers here are, for example, in Texas. Bobby House, he just won an award for Best New Knife Maker of the Year at a Blade Show in Atlanta. He's been to the shop a couple of times. Then Steve Gatlin, I brought one of his knives. He's out of Schertz, Texas. And he's an award-winning knife maker.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so that's one of his custom knives. And out of Schertz.
Do you all do knife sharpening or no?
Yeah, I'm going to start offering that.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that's actually a good service to offer, I think.
Yeah.
For people
have been asking, so I need to offer it, and I will.
Yeah.
Then you have another one, for example, Enrique Peña out of Laredo. He's well known. That's one of his custom titanium knives.
It was really pretty.
And he came and delivered 3 knives to the store a couple of weeks ago. And after he left, 30 minutes later, one of the knives got sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you carry, of course, going back to the collectibles, you carry like Bowie knives. You carry swords.
I have a few swords.
Really you've got some cool like axes and all that other stuff too that you got.
Yeah.
Do you carry any like ninja stars or little Chinese stars?
Not yet. I want to.
throwing the daggers.
Yeah, I have throwing daggers.
Yeah.
The stars. I need to make room right now to start and just getting a feel for what San Antonio wants and just
that's
catering
true.
to the clientele.
You'll have to like kind of tweak it once you get a feel for what sells and what doesn't. What about on your collectibles? Once you start selling some of those, are you actively trying to like replenish some of those?
It just happens. Like people have been showing up and asking because their grandfathers left them a collection or their great grandfathers left them a collection.
Do you buy?
Right now, I have a few on consignment.
Okay.
somebody last week found the shop and showed up and with 3 knives. One of them's from the Civil War, like a Civil War Bowie. It's really, really old, and you can tell. We looked it up, and it's a civil. I mean, I don't know it was probably handmade, but it's a Civil War era.
Damn, that's so cool.
Dagger,
man.
And then he left at the store, which is a beautiful dagger from World War II.
Wow.
I think it was Austro-Hungarian Fire Brigade something. I mean, it was just, we did a quick research, but he left it at the store, and it's all silver. The sheath is silver, the handle is silver, and it's a steel. It's a beautiful engraved knife, and he left it there for consignment. So people are starting to just leave some of those collectibles for me to try to sell.
Sure.
And it just brings more, I guess, more quality and more just the historical knives to the shop.
Do you have any obsidian, older school kind of stuff?
No, not those.
Dragon Slayer.
I got Valerian steel.
Valerian steel.
So if the dragons ever come yet?
No, you got those? No,
not yet. No, I want to. I mean, I do want to. I mean, the store's still kind of small.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting, man. I know it's something. Do you plan on still doing architecture for a while, or like just still continue to do that?
I'm gonna try to do. I mean, architecture's been my passion, so I'm gonna keep on doing it.
So you're not gonna leave that. So this is just gonna. Is this more like a supplemental thing, or just kind of?
I don't know. I mean, the way I see it is, I pretty much built my man cave. I go there, surrounded by knives, and I get
to
see
the cigars and the whiskey. Though that's the only thing.
Yeah. So I mean, it's my collection until they're not.
Yeah.
So when I sell one, I'm like, all right, I'll just buy another one. Yeah. So it's a really weird passion. I mean, that I just sit there, I do architecture, and I get to sell knives and to people, make them happy, and then I just go buy and just go around and buy more knives. So it's every time I get a package from UPS or FedEx, I get happy.
You get all
I'm like, oh, they're all mine.
Like a little Christmas present.
And then I just sell them.
So you talked about how you feel things happen for a reason. Tell me more about that. Like, how does faith involve with this whole process? Obviously, Sarah encouraged you to buy it.
Yeah.
Did you have any thought as to doing that at all?
No. It would have never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, when John said, I'm going to sell everything at a discount, I just thought, I'm just going to start saving money from here till February when he retires, come drive over here and buy 10 knives. That was my thought.
But at that point, you didn't think about jumping into the entrepreneur world?
Never.
Business.
No, I was happy. My teaching job, my salary job. I mean, I was not happy. It was more comfortable. It was a safe thing. It was a safety thing. But to step out and risk everything to do something like that, I just never thought about it. But Sarah's an entrepreneur. She owns Youthful Aesthetics. It's facials and lasers. Does aesthetics. She's an esthetician. So I saw that, and I was like, man, I mean, she has her own business. She makes her own hours. And I looked up to that. I was like, man, if I had not met somebody like that, I probably would have. If I had met somebody in architecture like I always wanted, I would have been a salary person for the rest of my life. Yeah.
What's been your struggle so far, though, being basically 1 month into it? I mean, you said you bought it
February? I bought it in November last year.
Okay, so you've already been through that process.
But I kept it open in Arizona, and John stayed as my employee from November to
transition.
February.
Yeah. Closed
it in February. I quit my job in March. And I didn't work for 3 months.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because, I forgot about that. So you weren't independent in the architect. So you quit. Now you don't have that paycheck coming in.
Exactly.
Now
that's where things got scary.
Yeah.
They were not scary the first month. I was happy. Yeah. I was like, I have freedom. I get up and I was like, I don't have to go to work. Yeah, I miss my coworkers. I missed everything about it. But I was like, man, I get to do whatever I want to.
Yeah.
And at first, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy this. I start hiring contractors, building. And I mean, everything just, well, let's go back to the thing about faith. I've always been a believer of a higher power, just kind of not guiding you, but kind of pushing you in a direction. And things, I mean, I never feel like things just happen by coincidence just because they happen. So that's, like when I one of my trips to Arizona in February to go close the store, on the way over there, let me go back a few weeks before that trip in February. It was my friend's birthday. I went to his birthday party. I had not seen him for over a year. And I met this commercial real estate agent. And I just told him, like, I want to open up a knife shop. I'm looking. I didn't know what I wanted, actually. I had this big collection from Arizona. I was going to put it in my garage. I have to do something about it. And I just entertained the idea of, like, if I find something that might be worth it. So I took one of my final trips to Arizona. This guy that I had just met at that party called me and said, "Hey, I found a spot. I know the agent, and this store, it's called Three Sassy Chicks. They're moving to a bigger spot in the same shopping center, so they're moving out of this corner location." I was like, "I think it'll be perfect," and I was like, "Sure." So as soon as I got back, I mean, we went there and saw the space. It was full of girls' clothes, and there was a lot of women just buying stuff. And I was like, okay, I mean, I can visualize it. It's just a big open space, but I loved it. I was like, okay, this might work. And I said, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just sign, see if we can make an agreement.
You have the sublease?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, well, they were moving out already.
Okay, gotcha.
So they moved out in a weekend. They cleared the whole thing out, and I got approved, and I was like, "Oh crap, this is it. This is real." So all those things, I mean, just by me meeting Sarah at the right time, me meeting John at the right time, all those things, I mean, they don't feel like coincidences. They don't feel like, those are things that I've never planned. So yeah, there's something there, and yeah, I have faith in things that things are gonna happen.
Well, a lot of faith though also comes into action, and you having faith to take those steps, you know?
Exactly.
Because going back to what you said, when people hit roadblocks, and that's why people don't get into business, because they encounter a challenge that they don't want to go through. And so they just said, you know what, no, I'm fine where I'm at, and I'll just, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's my thing is, if you're happy where you're at, man, so be it. More power to you. Not everybody's going to be, you know, wanting to take those chances, those risks every day, and having those sleepless nights sometimes, or kind of figuring out, you know, phones don't ring, or, you know, no one comes into your shop. And those are the things that you're going to go through right now. Dude, I went through that. You know, when I went off on my own 17 years ago, I opened up my store. No different than you in a sense. I mean, I had the background already in the business, but essentially now I didn't have a partner to kind of lean on, or kind of like, sometimes when you have someone there with you, it's a little easier to kind of get that support. But when you're off by yourself, especially if you're in your office by yourself, there's a lot of time for you to just think about what you're doing.
It can go dark where like, sure, oh my God, nobody's showing up. It's 4 o'clock.
So the first, where I'm at now is basically, I've been there, but I've kind of evolved and moved over, gotten bigger. But my first store, I had my office in the very back of the shop, and I had a little showroom in the front, and I had really, it was just myself, and my wife would come in here and there, and then we eventually hired someone to kind of help, a little admin person. But for the longest time, same situation, man. And I'd be in the back, and the phones weren't ringing, and I'd get antsy. I get things. I'd go pace the showroom. I'd go look, and I go, okay, I gotta start calling, because the challenge is, if you don't do anything, if you just kind of wait for things to fall on your lap, it's not a good, strategy in business. You know, you definitely have to kind of make calls. And back then, literally, I was opening up the yellow pages, calling like contractors, builders, designers, and, you know, trying to network in that sense, which is a little different now. But basically, you had to take action. Yeah. And if you don't, and that's part of faith too, because, you know, you're having faith in the sense of what you know you want to do, what makes you happy. For me, you know, and even to now, it's like I say, well, it's not about money. I just love to serve people, help people. No different than you. You sell them a knife, they walk out, you give them that story, man. They walk out of there like, dude, this is a freaking awesome buy. They're going to go out there, check it out. They may even put it on a display case or whatever the case may be. There's no better feeling that. No different than, you know, when I leave someone's house and we've redone their home and they're just happy with it. Yeah. And that's what helps me get up every day to cut. And also it helps me understand that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Because a lot of times when you're in a situation, a job where you don't know that purpose, you know, you get up and you're doing something you're not really happy, then that's when I try to encourage people to take that leap of faith, to step out and do something different.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be about money. It could be anything,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But that's cool, man. And I'm excited for you, and I'm really really encouraged by what you're doing as well. And just know that you just have to be patient with it, and
Yeah.
you have a really cool niche. I mean, and I think you definitely, you're just gonna have to find a way to reach those clients that are out there.
They need to be aware, and they will eventually.
But it's exciting, man. So I know you said you're going to keep the architect deal still going, and
I just hired somebody very, very part-time because I'm not there yet to hire somebody full-time. But it's one of my students that's going to help me with the architecture 3D. This is one of my students from last semester that showed a lot of interest and asked a lot of questions about architecture. The program that I teach is video game design and animation. But I teach the architecture 3D modeling that goes into video games, that goes into movies. And I've had some of my students that have great success in it. I mean, I've seen credits on Hollywood movies with my student's name on it. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, Mandalorian, one of my students was in The Mandalorian, did architecture work on it. And so there's all these. So yeah, this student kept asking questions. I want to do architecture. So it's a good opportunity for me to teach somebody and take off some of that pressure of I have to do everything myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Help somebody out by educating them and start to offer my services to the architecture firms in San Antonio.
Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, by the way, can you get Arnold Schwarzenegger to come help promote you or no?
Man,
Do you have his number?
It's been a while. It's been 15 years.
That'd be a good one to help sponsor you, man, and help you with you. So, but I'm excited for you, like I said, brother. And listen, I encourage everyone who's watching to go check out his website and or go to the shop, and we'll put some clips and links to your shop and place.
Appreciate
and
it.
I know I'm gonna. Like I said, I started getting into this rabbit hole with Borka knives.
You get to play with them here. That's the difference between online and
for sure.
Yeah, because you never know what you're going to get online.
For sure. And I think just seeing him, like you said, in person, getting to feel it, I think makes a big difference. And I'll definitely help you however you need help, and promote you as best I can. And if you need any thing from me or guidance, let me know for sure as well.
Really appreciate everything you're doing.
And obviously, if someone asks me if I know an architect, I'll say you, or better yet, anybody that has a knife shop, I'll definitely say I know a guy. Trapper John's, bro. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Good job, man. Thank you so much.